Camp Lazlo is an OG Cartoon Network show that aired from 2005 to 2008. It has a total of 5 seasons and 61 episodes, and in this video, we're going to talk about it and explain it in detail from start to finish. But before we do that, let me give you some context first. Lazlo, aka the main character of the show, is an adventurous, cheerful, optimistic, and eccentric spider monkey, frequently causing annoyance to Edward and Scoutmaster Loompus. He possesses an exceedingly carefree and cheerful personality. Embracing a hippie lifestyle, Lazlo has a deep-seated fear of clowns, a condition known as clownophobia. Originally coming from Sao Paulo, Brazil, Lazlo's parents moved to the United States when he was just a small child to start a fruit company, which is where he learned English. Lazlo is described as imaginative, free-thinking, and a natural-born conformist. He enthusiastically spreads mischief and wacky shenanigans, uses imagination and creativity to solve problems, and vexes Scoutmaster Loompus with his persistent happiness and optimism. He's very naive and unaware of certain concepts. For example, in Beans and Pranks, he doesn't know what a prank is and misunderstands most of Slinkman's attempts to get them to prank the Scoutmaster.
I was known to prank the big moose myself in the day.
You did? How'd you do it?
Loompus, on the other hand, is shown to be the complete opposite of the protagonist. He's a stingy, always angry, stubborn, and short-tempered moose with a big ego. His last name is always mispronounced by almost everyone except for Raj and Slinkman. Everyone else refers to him as Scoutmaster Loompus instead of pronouncing it as Loompus. Everything has to be exactly how he likes it or he immediately becomes enraged. He is almost always in a bad mood, and this horrible trait could have been caused by his parents' failure to train him as a mime and tell him that they love him or even show any signs of care for him. One of the few things that makes Scoutmaster Loompus happy is doing whatever he can to ruin the fun for the other scouts, like confiscating packages sent to the campers from home because they're against camp rules, which is not true. However, the very thought of eating canned tuna can turn his personality around. What nobody knows about him is the fact that he loves playing with dolls and has a collection of them stashed in his closet.
He's gonna blow up a doll! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11. Where's 12? 12. Thought I lost one.
He is a member of a secretive club called the Legium Council and desires to be a Grand Legium. He hates almost everyone, especially Slinkman and the Jelly Bean Cabin, and lacks any kind of social skills. The only person he treats with respect is Commander Hoo-Ha, primarily because Hoo-Ha is his boss and possesses an intimidating presence that keeps Loompus in check. His disrespectful nature is targeted towards Slinkman, and does whatever he wishes to make Slinkman's life as miserable as his, despite the fact that he truly likes him deep down and considers him a good friend. Loompus even went to Camp Kidney with him years before, but sabotaged Slinkman's daredevil career because it made him happy. The first episode of the season opens up with Samson, Dave and Ping Pong, Chip, Skip, and Edward fishing at Leaky Lake alongside Loompus. They struggle to catch any fish and end up with a collection of snow globes. Loompus is extremely disappointed and realizes that no one in the entire history of Camp Kidney has ever caught a single fish.
Are you aware that the whole time I've been Scoutmaster here at Camp Kidney, nobody, including myself, has ever caught a fish?
Determined to change that, he decides to catch one, even if it's the last thing he does. Upon discovering Loompus's disappointment, the Jelly Bean trio decides to surprise him by catching a fish to make him happy. So the following morning, they leave the camp and come across a dock with a speedboat parked there. They decide to take the boat despite not knowing how to operate it properly. Their lack of boating knowledge leads to an accident, causing the boat to break down in the middle of Leaky Lake. At this point, Loompus realizes his boat has been stolen by the Jelly Beans and decides to confront them in the middle of the lake. However, when he reaches them, they mistake him for a sea serpent and start attacking him.
Wait! It's Scoutmaster Loompus!
Things get messy, and Loompus, hurting pretty badly, decides to boot them off the boat and send them on a raft to get some peace and quiet while fishing. He tells them that if they really want to help, they should stay out of his way.
The only way you 3 bozos can help me catch a fish is to get as far away from me as possible and not help me at all!
Unfortunately, just when he gets started on his fishing, the sea serpent sneaks up right behind him and starts making him its dinner, and since he had specifically told Lazlo never to help him, the Jelly Beans leave him to face the creature all on his own. In this episode, we get introduced to Slinkman as well, who is Loompus's assistant and best friend. He's a yellow banana slug, and just like a real slug, Slinkman is an invertebrate. He's smart, nice, and actually very friendly. And unlike Loompus, he likes the jelly cabin very much, to the point where he sometimes stands up for them. He knows the Bean Scout handbook cover to cover, although he seems to always read it upside down. He's shown to be loyal, kind, and does whatever he's told. Even though Slinkman is the one who basically runs Camp Kidney, he still has to answer to Scoutmaster Loompus, and often ends up acting as his personal valet. Camp Kidney is where most of the show takes place. It's an ordinary summer camp where students come and stay for the summer, doing activities like collecting firewood, raking leaves, playing tug of war, and dredging the lake. The camp itself is very well known, to the point where it has its own anthem. What makes it even more popular is the fact that it has no rules besides a dress code, and also having the coldest shower on earth makes it stand out even more. According to Wader, the camp is located in the state of California. It sits on the shore of Leaky Lake, right next to Prickly Pines, and is also very close to Acorn Flats, where the Squirrel Scouts are. In the camp, there are 25 Bean Scouts, each divided into cabins that have specific names like Jelly, Pinto, Fava, and many more, in total being 12. Besides having the usual at-camp activities, the camp annually hosts the most prestigious event, called the Mascot Games. They are also often seen traveling over to places like Itchy Island, Mount Whitehead, and Blackhead, and even paying a visit to the Squirrel Scouts. Just like Camp Kidney, Acorn Flats is another camp located on the other side of the lake, and is the campsite home for all the female Squirrel Scouts. Even though the camps have the same activities and are both summer camps for students, Acorn Flats appears to be the nicer one. They have a big watchtower preventing bad things from happening, unlike Camp Kidney. They have normal showers, and their meals are hot. The Squirrel Scouts are led by Jane Doe, and some of the squirrels on camp are Petsy Smiles, Rachel, Nina, and Amber. The most popular cabin over at Camp Kidney is convincingly the Jelly Bean cabin. Bunkmates there are Lazlo and his two best friends, Raj and Clam. Just like Lazlo, they are super friendly and good-mannered, and even though they are considered boring and lame, they are indeed very cool. Raj is an elephant with an Indian accent, and he's considered a good balance to Lazlo's character, and he sometimes brings Lazlo back to reality when his imagination is overreactive. At first, he doesn't like Lazlo at all, and thinks of him as trouble. He hates the idea of naming the cabin Jelly, and even hates the fact that he's Clam and Lazlo's roommate. However, when Lazlo gets lost and supposedly eaten by a bear, he realizes how much he actually likes and misses him. He constantly wears his beanie, and unlike the rest of the Boy Scouts, instead of a hat, he wears a fez that starts spinning whenever he gets agitated. His rivalry with Samson makes them constantly argue, as Samson is once seen blackmailing Raj and exposing his 2 belly buttons. Despite being seen as Samson's bully, he has a sensitive side and can easily get upset to the point of crying when saddened. He's a drama queen and suffers from OCD, by having a different blanket for each day of the week. Clam, on the other hand, is a tiny anthropomorphic rhinoceros and is known as the quiet kid at Camp Kidney, rarely speaking more than a few words in a sentence and usually repeating the final words his best friend said. Despite being the smallest scout, Clam is probably the strongest. He has incredible strength to casually break a tree in half with bare hands. He can carry a massive ice block and can even pull out a dinosaur skeleton. Besides his impressive strength, he has unique talents like mimicking someone else's voice or solving a 1,000-piece puzzle in less than 10 seconds. He can draw with his right foot, sculpt using his mucus, and is also able to paint impressive portraits like Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa. In the episode Prodigious Clammus, he plays Beethoven's Ninth Symphony with an empty soda bottle, and in Burpless Bean, he sings an opera voice tune. He loves constructing things. Once, he created a remotely controlled plane toy out of a hairdryer, and another time, a long log card that he used to find Raj when he thought he got lost in the forest. He has a huge addiction to candy, and simply loves any kind of food. He loves a fresh shrimp cocktail and gooseberries, even pancakes, licked postage stamps, and raw onions. He just can't resist. Edward, or the Duke of Lice, is the camp's mascot. Interestingly enough, even though he has no relations with Loompus, he possesses traits very similar to his. He hates almost everyone, lacks any kind of social skills, has insecurities, is almost never seen laughing or even smiling, and appears to be jealous of the scouts whenever they have fun. His introverted and self-doubting nature is attributed to his 4 older platypus brothers who outshine him in every aspect. While he's just an ordinary platypus, his older brother Cheesley is a skilled wrestler Taylor. Alpine is great at basketball, Fancy Pants is a millionaire, and Philip, who is perhaps the closest to Edward, is a regular teenager. His persona is also very likely adopted by the limited attention he received from his parents during his formative years, as their focus was primarily on his siblings. Out of every Bean Scout, he seems to hate Lazlo and the Jelly Cabin the most, constantly pulling mean pranks on them, trying to mess up their friendship and thinking of Raj as a loser. Despite his portrayal as a mean-spirited individual overshadowed by his brothers, Edward is highly dedicated and persistent in proving his masculinity and strength. However, on one occasion he reveals his soft side as well, as he's seen cuddling with a doll. The episode finale starts with Loompus setting up his sunbed, while all the other campers of Camp Kidney stand around just watching him. They're all shown to be drenched in sweat and stink, as apparently this whole time at camp, they've never had their uniforms washed. This isn't by choice, but due to Loompus putting off getting them washed out of laziness. Slinkman shows him that there is only one day left to wash them. So, like a responsible Scoutmaster, Loompus just eats the proof. In an effort to prove that they don't need to go and get them all cleaned up, he shows them his air-breathing cleaning technique, which blows up the area out of bad smells. They eventually go get everything washed anyway, so they quickly take a trip to the laundromat in town. Everyone is now back, having clean clothes for once this entire summer. Things seem pretty good, except for Loompus, who is traumatized by this cleaning experience. Luckily, Slinkman is there to help him out and show him that these freshly washed clothes aren't that bad. Unfortunately, when he attempts to slip on his socks, he realizes one is nowhere to be found. With Slinkman suspecting he got lost at the laundromat, fuming with anger, he ends up having a late night scruffle with Slinkman. And as it turns out, this is the final time we catch a glimpse of Slinkman. He starts writing some kind of note, and as he's finishing, he knocks over his ink bottle, which falls on his sockless foot, covering it completely and making it look like he's wearing his lost sock. This leads him to see whether it was convincing enough that he was wearing a fake sock. So he tries showcasing it around to the campers to see if they would notice if it's a sock or not. After foot tenderizing some lunch and noticing that they can't tell the difference, he has a full-on breakthrough with how to never wear clothes again. His full idea is to go all natural and paint himself as if he was wearing his Scoutmaster outfit. He goes out into the camp to see if anyone realizes about his painted on clothes. However, no one even notices. So now everyone thinks that that's the new fashion and they all start painting themselves. As this is happening, a motorcycle cop comes by, and what seems like the worst thing ever happening in front of his eyes ultimately turns into him wanting his own outfit and motorcycle dressed up in paint. Now in love with his new look, he's about to head back to town and tell all his friends about it. With this trend catching on like wildfire, and everyone embracing this new style, news articles make headlines and suddenly doing laundry becomes a thing of the past. Now, thanks to everyone having more free time because of the time saved washing clothes, they're all able to accomplish great things, like inventing a time machine, from which two characters from the future come out and tell Loompus how beloved he is in the future.
The exalted one! The exalted one!
To commemorate Loompus for his monumental idea, they brought back a statue of him to set up in his honor, which is made of the original 1,000-year-old clothes for sentiment, as they were the last bits of clothes that were ever washed. As he performs a speech of acceptance, a quick storm rolls in, raining down upon the camp, quickly washing off everyone's paint and leaving them naked. All of a sudden, a cop car and an ambulance come rolling up to the scene, and a hairless heifer from Rocco's Modern Life steps out and points at Loompus, saying that's the bad moose who locked him in a closet all summer long and stole his job as Scoutmaster. The campers are blown away at this revelation. As Loompus admits to it being true, he gets put in a straitjacket and hauled away into the back of the ambulance to take him in jail.